There are islands that appear on maps. But they're not meant to be visited. Some were deserted by human choice, others because nature imposed insurmountable limits. And in some cases, because what happened there was so extreme that no one ever wanted to return. In this video, we're going to explore 10 forbidden and dangerous deserted islands around the world. Isolated places, closed to the public or outright prohibited by law. Islands where no one lives and where, in many cases, you shouldn't be. Surtsey, Iceland. South of Iceland lies Surtsey, an island that didn't exist until just a few decades ago. In 1963, an underwater volcanic eruption brought new land up from the ocean, witnessed by scientists from around the world. It was the birth of an island in real time. From the very beginning, Surtsey was considered a unique natural laboratory. For the first time, science could observe how an ecosystem is born from scratch. How the first bacteria arrive, carried by air and sea. How plants take root. How insects appear, and later, birds. All without human intervention. For this reason, the island was almost completely closed to access. There is no tourism, no visits, no free exploration. Only a very small number of scientists are allowed to set foot on it, under extremely strict rules. Even an accidental seed could disrupt decades of observation. Over time, Surtsey has been changing shape. The sea erodes its shores, the lava cools, and life slowly takes hold. Every transformation is recorded, measured, and analyzed. Everything is being documented step by step, like a planetary-scale experiment. A young island. Protected not by fear, but by knowledge. Bikini Atoll, Marshall Islands. In the middle of the Pacific Ocean lies Bikini Atoll, a group of islands with a paradisiacal appearance. Crystal clear waters, palm trees, and tranquil lagoons. But beneath this perfect image lies one of the most destructive stories of the 20th century. Between 1946 and 1958, the United States conducted powerful nuclear tests here. The explosions wiped entire islands off the map, altered the ecosystem, and forced the evacuation of the entire local population. Bikini was left empty, not by choice, but by necessity. Decades later, radiation levels remain dangerous. Although there have been attempts to return, the atoll is not safely habitable. There is no permanent population, and access remains strictly controlled. Today, Bikini remains deserted and, in practice, off-limits. A place where nature is trying to reclaim what was taken from it. Meanwhile, underwater lie sunken ships, military structures, and the silent remnants of a nuclear age that has not yet completely disappeared. North Sentinel Island, Andaman Archipelago. In the heart of the Indian Ocean, within the Andaman Archipelago, lies North Sentinel Island. From the air, it looks like just another tropical island, dense jungle, clear beaches, and shallow waters. But in reality, it is one of the most inaccessible places on the planet. Here lives the Sentinelese people, one of the last human communities completely isolated from the modern world. They reject any form of outside contact and fiercely defend their territory. Throughout history, every attempt at approach has ended in attacks, clashes, or tragedies. For this reason, the Indian government strictly prohibits access to the island. No one is allowed to land, sail close to it, or fly over it at low altitude. The law establishes an invisible border around North Sentinel. This protection exists not only to preserve their way of life but also to prevent outside contact from endangering the tribe itself and any visitors. North Sentinel Island isn't deserted in the traditional sense. It's outside the modern world. There are no roads, no signs, no communication. Just a community that continues to live as it did thousands of years ago. And a border that no one should cross. Gruinard Island, Scotland. Off the northwest coast of Scotland lies Gruinard Island, a small and, at first glance, completely tranquil territory. For decades, however, it was one of the most dangerous places in the country. During World War II, Gruinard was used by the British Army to conduct experiments with anthrax, one of the deadliest bacteria known. The tests contaminated the soil to such an extent that the island remained uninhabitable for generations. For almost 50 years, access was completely prohibited. Warning signs lined the coast, and any attempt to land posed a potentially fatal risk. No one lived there. No visitors were allowed. The island vanished from the habitable world. It wasn't until the end of the 20th century that a massive decontamination of the land was carried out. Even so, Gruinard was never repopulated or integrated into regular tourist routes. Today it remains deserted and isolated. A place emptied not by economic neglect or extreme conditions, but by something more unsettling. The invisible mark of war. Ramree Island, Myanmar. Off the coast of Myanmar lies Ramree Island, a territory covered in mangroves, dense jungles, and nearly impenetrable marshes. From a distance, it looks like just another Southeast Asian landscape, green, humid, and seemingly tranquil. In reality, it is one of the most hostile environments for human habitation. The terrain is treacherous, the climate stifling, and nature offers no concessions. During World War II, Ramree was marked by an extreme event. Retreating Japanese troops were forced to cross the island's mangroves, venturing into an ecosystem dominated by saltwater crocodiles, one of the largest and most dangerous reptiles on the planet. Few survived. The incident is recorded as one of the deadliest encounters between humans and wildlife in modern history. Beyond this event, Ramree has never been easy to inhabit. The constant heat, tropical diseases, dangerous wildlife, and difficult terrain have kept large areas virtually uninhabited for decades. Today, much of the island remains empty and without regular access. It is not officially a forbidden island. But its conditions make it a place where survival is extremely difficult. Bouvet Island, South Atlantic Ocean. In the South Atlantic, halfway between Africa and Antarctica, lies Bouvet Island, considered the most isolated island on the planet. There are no ports, no shelters, and no regular routes to reach it. Bouvet is, essentially, a volcano rising from the ocean, almost entirely covered in ice. Its coasts are formed by steep cliffs and glaciers that plunge directly into the sea, making any attempt at landing virtually impossible. The climate is extreme, constant winds, sub-zero temperatures, and relentless, violent seas. Bouvet has never had a permanent population. No one has ever lived there. Only a small number of scientific expeditions have managed to set foot on the island, always briefly, on a case-by-case basis, and under strictly controlled conditions. Any attempt to reach it involves real risk. A mistake, an unexpected storm, or a logistical failure could mean being completely cut off from the world. Although it belongs to Norway, Bouvet is closed to tourism and protected as a nature reserve. Not because of hidden secrets or human tragedies. But simply because it's not a place where human beings can be. Nazino Island, Russia. In the middle of the Ob River, deep in Siberia, lies Nazino Island. A small, flat, seemingly insignificant islet. Nothing in its landscape foreshadows what happened there. But its history made it one of the darkest places of the 20th century. In 1933, the Soviet government deported thousands of people to Nazino. They arrived without enough food, without tools, without shelter, and without any real plan for survival. The island had no infrastructure or resources. Only mud, mosquitoes, and cold. Within days, the situation became untenable. Hunger unleashed chaos. Violence, disease, and utter despair emerged. Extreme incidents soon began to occur, including acts of cannibalism, later documented in official reports by the regime itself. Within a few weeks, thousands of people died. The survivors were quietly removed, and the island was forever scarred. After the disaster, Nazino was abandoned. It was never repopulated. It was never used again. Today it remains completely deserted. There are no fences, no warning signs, no visible prohibitions. But its isolation and its history keep it beyond human reach. Nazino isn't dangerous because of its natural surroundings. It's dangerous because of what happened there, and because of what should never be repeated. Ilha de Queimada Grande, Brazil. About 35 kilometers off the coast of Brazil lies Ilha de Queimada Grande, a small, rugged islet that appears harmless from the air. Green, isolated, almost tranquil. But that appearance is deceiving. It is considered one of the most dangerous places on the planet. Its notoriety stems from a single reason: the density of venomous snakes. This island is home to Bothrops insularis, known as the golden lancehead viper, an extremely toxic species found nowhere else in the world. It is estimated that there is one snake for every few square meters. For thousands of years, isolation allowed these vipers to evolve without natural predators, adapting to a closed environment where survival depended on the speed and potency of their venom. And that venom is lethal. It can cause necrosis, internal bleeding, and organ failure in a very short time. A single bite, without immediate medical attention, can be fatal. For this reason, the Brazilian government strictly prohibits access to the island. Only authorized scientists are allowed to land, and even then, only under extremely strict security protocols. There are no inhabitants. There is no infrastructure. There are no visitors. Ilha de Queimada Grande is not deserted because it has been abandoned. It is deserted because nature has made it clear that it is not a place for human beings. Poveglia Island, Italy. In the heart of the Venetian lagoon lies a small, silent island, almost forgotten by conversation. It's just a few minutes by boat from one of the world's most visited cities, and yet, it seems to belong to another era. Its name is Poveglia. But access to it has remained closed for decades. For centuries, Poveglia was used as a quarantine island. Plague victims were sent there, isolated from the world to prevent the epidemic from reaching Venice. Thousands of people arrived at its docks, and never returned. Over time, the island accumulated layers of death, neglect, and fear. The soil became mixed with human ashes, buildings were erected on makeshift graves, and silence became part of the landscape. At the beginning of the 20th century, Poveglia reopened its doors, this time as a psychiatric hospital. The experience was brief. The center closed, the corridors were left empty, and the island was abandoned for the second time, this time for good. Since then, there has been no permanent population or stable human activity. Today, Poveglia is officially off-limits. Not because of wild animals or natural disasters, but because of its dilapidated state, and because of a history so heavy, so unsettling, that no one has wanted to bring it back to life. An island visible from the lagoon. In plain sight. And yet, completely beyond human reach. Jishima Island, Japan. Off the coast of Nagasaki rises a strange, compact, almost menacing silhouette. From a distance, it doesn't look like an island, but rather a concrete warship anchored in the middle of the sea. That's why Jishima is known as Gunkanjima, the battleship island. For decades, it was one of the most densely populated places on the planet. More than 1,000 people lived crammed into concrete blocks, built stone upon stone to withstand typhoons, salt spray, and absolute isolation. Everything on the island had a single purpose: extracting coal from beneath the seabed. There were no trees, no beaches, no open spaces. Only buildings, narrow corridors, endless staircases, and the ocean surrounding it all. A vertical city, closed in on itself, where life unfolded between mine shifts and concrete walls. When coal ceased to be profitable, the island lost its reason for being. In 1974, Jishima was completely evacuated in a matter of weeks. Families left, schools closed, clocks stopped. Overnight, the island fell silent. Today it is completely deserted. The sea and time have devoured the buildings. Broken windows, collapsed hallways, structures on the verge of collapse. Many blocks are in critical condition. Therefore, access is strictly restricted, both for safety and preservation. Jishima is not off-limits because of volcanoes, diseases, or deadly animals. It is off-limits because it is the perfect example of a city built for a single purpose, and abandoned the moment that purpose ceased to be useful. All these islands are different from one another. But they share something essential. They aren't empty by chance. Some were left off the map by human decisions. Others, because nature imposed clear boundaries. And in certain cases, because what happened there was so extreme that no one wanted to return. They aren't forgotten places. They are closed, protected, or avoided places. Islands that remind us that not the entire planet is meant to be occupied, explored, or dominated. That real borders still exist, not marked by walls, but by consequences. If you found these islands amazing, subscribe to Window to the World to continue exploring the most extreme and unknown corners of the world. Tell us in the comments which island impacted you the most or what other place in the world you'd like to see in future videos. And if you enjoyed this trip, leave a like. See you next time.